HR leaders, what's on your mind these days? Is it AI? Is it the economy? The talent market? Remote work? Retention? DEI? Pay transparency? New laws? Our 2024 Workplace Trends Report outlines how HR leaders are thinking about these challenges and what they believe will help their organizations overcome them. Want to find out what they said? Head on over to peoplemanagingpeople.com/Workplace Trends 2024 and download the report to find out.
Whether your team is dispersed or working in the office, engagement and connection are two key ingredients in creating a healthy workplace. But how do we create and maintain connections in a virtual world? Through online coffee or team events? Well, yes, both are great. And in today's episode, I'll be having a conversation about connections in a virtual world with Ben Hoffman, founder of cityHUNT, a company built on a simple mission: to provide teams with stronger, more meaningful relationships. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Tim Reitzma, the resident host of People Managing People. Welcome to the podcast. We're people managing people, and we want to lead and manage better. We're owners, founders, entrepreneurs. We're middle managers. We're team leaders. We're managing people, and yes, we do human resources. But we're not HR, at least not in the traditional sense. We're on a mission to help people lead and manage their teams and organizations more effectively. So if you want to lead and manage better, if you want to become a better organizational leader and more effective people manager, then join us. Keep listening to the podcast to find the tips, tricks, and tools you need to recruit, retain, manage, and lead your people and organization more effectively. And while listening to the show, please subscribe and join our mailing list on peoplemanagingpeople.com to stay up to date with all that's going on. Well, welcome to the podcast, Ben. How are you?
Amazing. Thank you. Super pumped to be here.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Well, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your company. We'd just like to know who you are.
Sure. So I actually started this company in 2000 at NYU. I was there for theater, and I was about to graduate, and I decided that I didn't really want to do theater the way it was, so I better figure something out. So with my partner at the time, we started doing these scavenger hunt pub tours with Polaroid cameras, just for fun for our friends. And then people asked us if we could do it for birthday parties and bachelorette. We were like, yeah, sure. It's like our fun thing, and kind of create an experiential theatrical experience. And then one day someone was like, hey, can you do this for a corporate team building event? I was like, sure. What's your budget? They told me their budget. I was like, yeah, that's what we do. We're a team building company, obviously. and then we became, and I had to learn how to build a team building company, but it all sort of tied back into what I realized I was passionate about, was sort of positive psychology, gamification, and that's how it all started. And in the past few years, I've really shifted a lot of my energy and time into mindfulness, consciousness, kind of being present and what that means, because I feel like everything sort of flows through that lens anyway. So that's sort of how we've been building, and we went from Polaroids to digital cameras, started expanding nationally. We were just in New York in the beginning, and then nationally, and then these new amazing iPhones came out, and we built apps, and just really trying to figure out, talking to our clients, build these experiences where they could get to know themselves better, get to know each other better, and like their environments better. And now one of those things is a little different now. People don't get to be in the environment so much when they're doing these experiences. So we've created a whole new experience based on the world we're living in now. But it's been really interesting, trying, but amazing and blissful time recently with everything that's going on. So I guess that's a quick recap.
Yeah. Well, the world has sure changed. I'm from starting off in the early days of Polaroid to digital to phones, and now a lockdown. And so, getting out and actually, doing a team building event or a scavenger hunt or whatever that is, must look different now. And so how have you pivoted in this time?
Yeah, so drastically different. So, we were growing so much. I had put in this whole new idea last year. I had an epiphany in 2019, this idea of make awesome for others. What does that really look like? How can we build that? So we've been doing tons of corporate events and making it available to everybody, working with nonprofits, getting everybody out and playing, expanding our technology, really trying to get people out in the world, building relationships. And we've been growing amazingly. And then dead stop March, right? All corporate, everything stopped. So we said, okay, this is interesting. What do we do? So we started building some new games through Zoom using our technology, a 2-screen experience. So we had scavenger hunts and game shows and these art projects and these mystery games. So we were just trying everything, experimenting, trying. Our clients were asking us, we were doing it. But it wasn't like, honestly, it wasn't as fun as I needed it to be, as I wanted it to be. The connections weren't happening. People were so burnt out of these video conferences that the experiences weren't living up to the level that, I had expectations for of what we used to do. So I said, let's take a step back. Let's collect all the data of all these games we're doing and see what it is. What do people love? Where do they feel the connection? Where do they feel sort of alive and they forget that they're on a Zoom and they're just living and being and playing? What are those pieces of each game? So we did that. We started collecting the data and then we created a best of experience. And that's all we really offer now is we took the best of each of the games we had and sort of mash it up into a 1-hour experience where people can, play for the comfort of their home and still have this awesome time where they get to connect with each other, lots of laughing, smiling, and very fast paced. So they get a piece of all of the different games. So there'll be a moment that everyone really, really loves, and hopefully lots of moments that people like. And most importantly, they get to laugh and smile and kind of see each other in a different kind of lighter way than they may have been experiencing each other recently.
I was talking with a friend yesterday just about how my week is shaped up, and I started counting all the calls and the video calls I was on, and at Fridays at the end of our day, a few of us get together for another video chat, and usually with a beer in hand, and I think it's a great way to end the day. But man, I'm just tired of looking at people through a screen, and so adding that level of fun, how does that just drive deeper connection?
Yeah, so that's what it has to be, because it is hard. I feel the same way you do. I am so tired of it. I try to limit myself. I try to limit how many meetings I schedule. What's going on? Do we really need to do this? Can I spend more time? I've been spending a lot more time in nature. But when we do the games, we try to give everybody sort of a moment to shine. So it'd be like everyone's playing the game and then we'd be like, hey, can you unmute yourself? Everybody say hi to Tim. Hey, Tim, what'd you put as your answer? What's your favorite? And then everybody kind of starts and we just banter back and forth. And that's what we're building, is these little moments of just connection where it just feels like you're not in a Zoom anymore. We're getting the feedback, or whatever conferencing system you're using, is be like, oh, this is the best video conference I've ever been on. And, I didn't think this could be fun. But like by getting things and sort of building an arc into the experience, we actually get people up and moving. By the end, they're moving around their dwelling, taking photos, coming back, sharing things. So we have music and we have really great hosts. And we do a lot of banter back and forth, and you never know when you're going to get called on. It's sort of like The Price is Right, come on down. So we can see people's reaction, and you never know. And then you might get called on, and then everybody cheers you on. And it's a really beautiful moment to have your whole company just like chant your name and cheer for you because you figured out, because we do surveys too about out of 100 people surveyed at your company, what's everyone's favorite holiday treat? Is it cookies, candy? And then whatever it is, you answer it, and then everyone's like, yeah, you got it right. Everyone loves cookies. Buy Tim cookies.
It's interesting that there's that element of personal touch. And, I know we're kind of talking about cityHUNT and what you're offering, but there's that element of personal to it. So it's not just one-dimensional, okay, we're now doing another trivia game online. And why is it so important to add that personal touch? In relation, like you had mentioned the survey, like you survey people and you get the answers. And what does that actually do for people?
Yeah, so with any of our games, our regular cityHUNTs too, we always try to customize it, figure out who they are, what they're into, and try to listen to them and be with them and get them, so that we can build that game. So it does feel like it's not just some random thing. I'm done. I don't want to do trivia nights anymore. I don't want to do those, game shows anymore. So it has to be relevant. And when it's fun, because you get to learn about each other. And that's one thing that we've lost. We sort of get to learn about each other when we're in an office without even thinking about it subconsciously, just with the banter. And the banter online isn't the same way. So it's kind of fun to hear what people are into, what people are doing. We use food a lot. During our games, we have like a close-up round of foods usually. And then people talk about their favorite foods during this time, that it may have changed. That, oh, do you like this? Do you like that? And we want those discussions that aren't happening. We've lost that. Kind of like, you're not just having random discussions. And what are things people are comfortable discussing? Food, what are they doing for fun? What books are they? These type of things. So when you share all that, we've kind of lost that a little bit. I think especially within companies, the ability to just walk up to someone and be like, "Hey, how's it going? What are you doing?"
Absolutely.
On chat.
I heard from somebody in a company that I'm involved in, and this person was saying that they almost feel guilty for having a conversation not about work. Whereas if we were all in the office, we would be grabbing that coffee or a cup of water and, quote unquote, the water cooler talk. And that could last 3, 5, 7 minutes. And we're just, that banter, as you say. But it's interesting that this person had said they now feel guilty about looking at somebody's calendar and saying, oh, it looks like they're free. Maybe they can jump on for a virtual coffee. And so, it kind of just maybe a little segue into what are your thoughts on, why is that important? Like people are missing it. I know that in my engagement surveys and people I'm talking to in different industries, people are missing that connection. So, what are your thoughts? Why is it so important?
Yeah, we're humans, right? It's what we do. We love to connect, like on that deeper level and just see and be and hold space together. I think that's like what we love community. We want that together. I think deep in our hearts, we all really enjoy just those moments, not even what the words are, but just kind of holding that space and being together. It's where we come from. We're a pack together. And if you feel isolated, we used the term early on. This is our experience. We wanted to be the antidote to isolation because I was hearing that so much. I feel so isolated. From a lot of people and a lot of clients. So be like, okay, can we create an experience? Because I felt guilty. I was like, I don't want to create another experience that's going to just suck people's time. If we're doing this, can we really create an antidote to isolation where they do feel like they're part of a community, something bigger than themselves and just like caught up in fear of the future, worry about the past, but they can be present in the moment. And I think when we're with others, it helps us because I think real happiness comes from that presence of just being here, being now. And when you're with other people, it's a lot easier to do that than when you're by yourself with your thoughts day after day after day after day, looking at a computer screen. So.
It's so important, right? It's, we are humans, obviously, and we thrive on that connection. We do. I haven't heard anybody quite argue with me on that topic, but we do. We thrive on connection. I was telling my partner yesterday that we were out of the house running an errand, and I just like, man, I just want to be out today. I don't want to go back home because I was able to see other people instead of staring at the wall in front of me or staring at a computer screen. And so for those people who are listening, they may be founders, they may be people working in an organization, managers. What could we be doing differently to drive that connection? We talk about how important it is. What are your thoughts on what can we do? Maybe that's a little different.
I think asking questions and listening and just being and sort of holding space and not trying to solve the problem. Just, and it's hard to do that virtually, but sometimes it's okay asking people like how, and it's tough. Do we really do this in business? But I do with my teams. So we always have a daily call. The call starts off with like, what's awesome? What's something that's awesome that's going on with you and anything awesome at work you want to share? And then is there something that can be even more awesome? We call that an EMA. And that's we don't have a lot of meetings. We just do this one meeting a day and it goes pretty quick. And I just want to know what people's lives are. Like, it's beautiful. I know what my team's doing, what they're up to, and just we can hold space for each other during those conversations. We celebrate those things at work, and then we work on things. Sometimes it's something in their own life that's an even more awesome, or something that needs help with work, but they know that they're there and they're in a safe space. And it's kind of like a container that you can set where there's not really much judgment, where you're just being together. And so every day I know what a lot of people talk about food during their awesomes, which is great. So I know what people are eating or what they're seeing. They're going out. They're like, I went out for an errand. It was amazing. Like what you just said, like it was great. I went for a walk. I walked my dogs. Be like, yeah, I like cheering for that. I took a nap. I took the time to take a nap and I cheer that on. As a CEO, my team was joking about that. We were talking about best strategies for naps. And they're like, that's weird that they were laughing about that. I was like, no, I want you to live your fullest selves. That's why, what I feel like my goal is, we're all partners in this. We're all humans. And if you need to take a nap so that you can be fully charged and be fully present, I'd rather you not be here and be taking care of yourself so that when you are here, you can be present and feeling connected than being burnt out because of that. It's like, I don't know, it's this feeling of almost like a locomotive or like pounding that I feel like people tell me about, of the isolation kind of going on, and just like, how can you self-care? And how can I support that as, someone who runs the company? And how can I help people support others taking care of themselves? In Sanskrit, it's called Maitri. And I just recently heard this idea of like loving kindness for oneself. And I feel like that's an important thing that we say. I tell my team, at least, that that's okay. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of others.
Mm-hmm. For a couple, my mind is swirling here. So, because even at my work, we're talking about, how do we relieve stress, and stress is, we could frame it a different way. How do we do self-care? And what does that mean for us? Yeah. But I just want to take a step back a sec, because the way what you're describing, I think we may have listeners saying, how did you create such a level of vulnerability in the team? If people are sharing, hey, I just need a nap today, or, I need to go for a walk. And how did you get there?
I think you have to be vulnerable yourself. It's top down. They know what's going on. I try to be as present and conscious, and we do breathing together. Like it's not mandatory, but I will do breath work with people and just be there. And if I need support, I put that out there too. If I'm doing this, they know that I'm living this. My hope is that I can live my fullest self and find that within, that light within, so I can shine it out to others. And that's what I really tell them too, is what do you need to do? And they know I'm committed to it in my lifestyle, because I share it all the time, that everything else, the work flows from that other place. But if you're not building that love and light within yourself and being able to shine that out to others, and you're focused so externally, you're never going to be able to kind of be present and be with people. And, what we really want to do is kind of hold that space, be compassionate, have fun, be awesome. But we really have to take care of ourselves to do that. And so I have to be completely vulnerable if I ask them to be that. So I talk about my meditations, my napping, whatever it is that I'm going to do to self-care. They know that it's a big part of my life. And that's the most important thing I've realized during this time, during COVID, is really they have to take care of themselves before they can take care of others. Because I realized I spent a lot of my life, even with this company, of like, my identity was so wrapped up in how many, millions of people I could affect, and like the accolades and the cheers and like these amazing events, and then dead stop. Right? I was like, whoa, I'm really tired. I told my team, I was like, I'm hurting. I didn't realize how tired I was to, it's nice to have financial success, but also to like feel that energy of all these people being like, oh, what a great event. Thank you so much. And then in March, when there was a dead stop, it was like, for the first time in a very long time, that wasn't who I was, because it didn't exist. Mm-hmm. And I had to get real with that and be like, whoa, I told the team, I have some work to do, so that when this does come back, I'm not so tied to that, so I can even be more present with you and more present with our clients and our partners as we grow, and not be so. I know it's probably a little bit crazy thing. I mean, maybe it's not what people say that much, but yeah, that's sort of what happened to me. This broke me in a really, I told my team, it broke me in a really unexpected, and a lot of personal stuff go on too. And this time, and I was just open with them and shared with them and told them what I was doing, the work, and that this too shall pass. But I didn't hide anything. Maybe some things, but I tried to be whatever I could be in the moment and be where I was with them.
Yeah, it's that word vulnerability, I'm sure scares people. It's a bit of a scary word, right? You're putting yourself out there, and also along with vulnerability, I believe, is empathy. So if somebody is being vulnerable and sharing, it's having that empathetic approach to that. And it sounds like, in March, when the world basically came to a standstill, we needed to be vulnerable. And we also needed to approach our teams with empathy, because we don't necessarily know what's going on in their life. We don't know necessarily what's going on in their home. Are they able to set up a home office and whatnot? And so, starting with that place of vulnerability, leading with empathy, would you say that really ties in with creating connection?
Definitely. And what I would add to that is presence, like being in the moment. I
Yes,
feel like all of
absolutely.
those things tie back into this one idea of like, whatever you need to do to be present, can I be here with you now, regardless of what's swirling around? And that is where that is connection. And
Yes.
if you can't be with yourself in that space of quiet, it's really hard to be able to be in that space with others.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, in the virtual world, I know I've talked with a number of people, is Slack is going off, emails are going off, you're getting text messages, and a lot of this used to happen around that water cooler, if so to speak, or you walk by somebody's desk or office or cubicle and be able to ask them questions. And now it's you're getting pulled in digitally in 10 different directions. And so, our connections are now virtual versus, that in person, or that, that real human connection. And so, do you find, even with you and your team, or with companies that you're doing team building events with, that you've been able to overcome that? We touched on that a little bit, just, making it so fun that it doesn't even feel like you're on a Zoom call. So, how do you actually create that sort of environment?
Yeah, so that's the first thing. Like when companies bring us in, like that's what I said. I was like, I will not do another event. I told my team, until this is something amazing that does not feel like everything else they're going through. So that was a pledge I made, and I feel like we're living that. So that kind of that moment, and they do. I mean, we do that work, and we do figured out how to create an experience. But day to day with my team and how I work is I try to limit my meetings, I don't limit my emails, limit my interactions, limit my Slack. Just try to be mindful of when I'm sending that this is sort of, I'm pushing into somebody's life in this moment. Do I need to send this? Is there a way? Okay. And kind of like everybody, what does that look like? How do I schedule my day to limit that? Because I don't want to be just like, feel like we need to work for the sake of work. Is there a mindful way to kind of communicate digitally? And I push my team to sort of think that, be like, take a breath, take the pause.
Oh, I like that.
Before you send that email.
Yeah, as you
answer that text. Do you need to answer it right now? Okay, take the pause. Breathe.
Yeah.
Okay. Slow it down.
Yeah. It's something I think, I don't know, you're kind of speaking to me directly right now as I look over and I see all these unread Slack messages and emails, and think, okay, well, things will happen in time. And I don't know about you, but at least for me, I'm a people person. I need to at least see somebody on a video. That's how I can connect. I'm a hand gesture person. I need to be able to see those visual cues. And so, how would you say, we're kind of bouncing around a little bit here, but
sure.
For people who, want to drive more meaningful connection, deeper connection, what is your recommendation? Somebody like myself, I love, being on the camera so I can see other people, but the person on the other side might go, no, please, no, not another video call.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, one thing we did during our games, which is sort of funny, we realized, so in the beginning, we were like, everyone needs to be on camera. And then I was like, well, that's sort of like, people don't want to be on camera. And then I was like, let's experiment and let's make bigger rooms and let people be an audience, like, because it's fun to watch. And then we're like, some people just want to be the audience, and that's okay. Some people want to be called on, and that's okay. So if you want to be called on, be part of the game, that's fine. Turn your camera on if you don't. So like just kind of meeting people where they're at. So some people want that type of communication. And before I was like, and it was my mistake, because you start to think, or at least I do sometimes, that everyone's like me. Right? So it's just like, oh, they need to be on the camera. That's how the way the game works. And then I was like, let's do an experiment. Let's open up a really big room. Let's do like a really big video conference and let people who don't want to be on camera not be on camera and be audience, or they can play without doing that. And they love it. The people who don't want to be, because they can still watch and enjoy it, and they see their friends on there. So for them, that's energizing. And for me, being on the camera is energizing, but kind of understanding what different people, how they feel connected, how they feel energized, and not just kind of looking at from their eyes and being empathetic that way. but yeah, I spend a lot. And I have certain protocols, and my team knows this. If I'll answer an email within 24 hours, 24 business hours. If you need something that day, you can text me. If you need something urgent, call me, and I will get back to you. And they know that's how to contact me. And that's sort of we call it communications of awesome, and everybody has agreed to that. And if you can't do that, if you have to get in realignment and you can't do that, that's fine too. And then we have our banter and our hangouts, our Slack, all of that. That's just for fun. And I'm like, we don't really have to do work on that. Don't expect someone to get back to you if you do that. That's just banter. If you want to document it, documentation, you send this way. If you need something something pretty immediate, text. If you need something in the moment, just give me a call, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So we're all in alignment and agreement. Yeah, and we call it the communications of awesome. And we all sort of got into agreement. And everybody who comes in, all of our partners, I talk about that with them. What are the expectations? Because that's where all suffering comes from. And a lot of sadness is just like, I have expectations of how you're going to communicate, and you have expectations of how I'm going to communicate. If we're not on the same page, we're both going to suffer because we don't feel like the other person is, hearing us or connecting with us. But it's really the expectations that are just off.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you brought that up. It's been an interesting conversation with a number of people and a number of peers in different companies about communication. I love the communication of awesome, and it's setting that expectation, even when somebody new joins the team, or reiterating, hey, this is how we communicate. This is the kind of that expectation, and just driving that alignment. It's so important. I love that that you kind of hit on that. We talk
and also
about
just giving them the choice. Yeah, the one thing too, I would say that to them, and I'm like, "Are you in agreement with this? This is how we're doing things. Is there a different way you want to communicate? Let me know, and we'll try to kind of do that." But I'm not forcing that on anybody, because that's not really fair either. So when they come in, say, "Hey, is this good? Do you feel like this is in alignment with you?" And if it isn't, let's find something that is in alignment with you, so that we are on the same page. But everyone so far, we have quite a few people who work with all the teams. They've all been really good about as soon as they hear that, they're like, "Oh, of course, that makes perfect sense." It makes life a lot easier. One less thing to guess at.
Yeah, no, it's spending so much time just reading between the lines and miscommunication. And I was just looking at some data yesterday about organizations' miscommunications and the potential cost of miscommunications, and it's astronomical. So, we talk about creating connection in a virtual world. Well, that connection, communication is part of that connection. We have to figure out how we're going to communicate with each other, especially if we can't walk past each other, have that banter at the water cooler. And so, you touched on what you do in your team building events. And then I love your daily call. You're awesome and even more awesome. And your communication of awesome. So it sounds like awesome is one of your core values at cityHUNT.
It is. And it's interesting because when this started, like this last year was really about making more awesome for others, and this really big push, and we were pushing and growing. And recently I've had this shift with my team. And I said, I love that. But I was like, in my heart, I'm feeling this idea of being more awesome together. I feel like I'm so much more together with everyone we build with, as like it used to. Maybe this is a shift that I've sort of seen in society with everything that's gone on, is like there are people who are like consuming and making, and sometimes I'm consuming and sometimes I'm making. But now I feel like there's a lot more being together in terms of experiences. And it's a shift that I'm making with that team in terms of that. I want that all moment, just like where you just haven't, that's what I want. And that's what I love in my own life, is just a connection. Like you're just like, literally your face goes, "Oh," or like an "all" can mean so many more things. When I say awesome, I mean really like, "Oh," or "Oh," kind of having that moment and sort of being in that all moment together, where everyone is just energetically has that look on their face. When I see it in the Brady Bunch mode, on video conferencing, it's just like the best. It's just such a great moment when it, like we'll say an answer and everyone's like either like, "Oh, I got it wrong," or like, "Oh, I got it right." All happens a lot when you're playing games, you realize. So there's a lot of awesome happening.
Yeah, it's a couple weeks ago in our organization. We're a global company. We did just a very simple thing called 2 truths and a lie. Right, we divided everybody up, and even within half an hour, man, did we learn so much about people in the company. We also learned who could tell the most elaborate lies, which which is also pretty fun. And we all shared a laugh, and it doesn't take a whole lot to drive connections in our organizations and drive something that's meaningful, and it can be quick. It doesn't have to be forced. I hear the term, and I've been hearing this term now for a while, called forced fun. And we never want to force people into this. And I like that you'd said, hey, and if you're doing a virtual team event, there's an audience. You don't need to participate if you don't want to. And so have you heard that term, forced fun, and has that come up at all?
Yes. And that's like what we're fighting, like I don't want that ever to be. It has to be like we're doing it together. We're in it together. And whatever that means to you, find your space so that you can enjoy this the most. There should be, for me, at least, I don't ever want to force people kind of into that. I don't believe in that. So we use a lot of science and positive psychology and how we build the game so that it's, we're building it so that you can, and that's what I've been learning too in the digital world is the different levels. Some people, like on a normal city hunt when people are doing scavenger hunts and things like that, you have people who are like solving, because we have sometimes clues where there's puzzles they're solving, or people who are really into the pictures or really into the videos. So we try to always, and we do this, and we're starting to do social distancing games again where people are out and about and playing in responsible ways. And because that's what we really got good at, was everybody on the team can kind of find their niche where they feel comfortable. What's fun for them, what's fun for me is not fun for you necessarily. So can you build an experience where it's diverse enough where you can find that moment, find your niche, and really enjoy that? I want to do all the mapping. I want to do this. And you start to see all that. And that's a beautiful moment as you see people fall into the place where they're comfortable. And that's where I had to check myself, was when we were building these games, being like, oh, let's, okay, that's interesting. Let's see what happens if did the audience members have a great time? Oh, they had an amazing time. That's what fun was for them, is to do that. They don't need to be on, they don't want to be on camera, but they're still participating energetically by cheering people on and just being there. And then afterwards, people talk about it. That's those moments too. If you have a shared experience, my hope, and that's what I said, is like, you can take this, it doesn't end here. You can talk about what happened today and have fun with this. Some clients will stay and have like a party afterwards where everyone stays on. And it's just like, they're in a really great place energetically. And another thing that I would say with these experiences is try not to have distractions. Can you turn everything else off? Can you turn all your notifications off and just be with each other, whatever you're doing? I feel like that's the ultimate hack, right? When I'm with you, I'm with you. I don't have a news browser going. I don't have my Slack pinging. I don't have all of those. I don't feel like I can ever really be present with someone if everything's buzzing and people are pulling at me. And I think that's, companies, that's a good thing to say, hey, and be like, it's okay to be unavailable. Yep. Like my team, I tell them it's okay. Like that means you're doing something where you need to be focused and you need to be present. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's really that nature of being okay with telling people that, hey, now's not a good time to talk, or hey, I know you pinged me 6 times, but can we talk in an hour? And we all get that, and I can't speak for others, but I know I'm guilty of doing that. Hey, are you free right now for a quick talk? And often I get a yes. Actually, about 100% of the time I get a yes, but on the flip side, when you actually put yourself in that person's shoes, really that empathy approach is, maybe ask for permission first, or pre-schedule something, or put something in to actually have that good, deep, meaningful conversation. I don't know how many conversations I've had with people personally and professionally where that now is not the best time to have a conversation. There's some distraction. You're kind of getting the and I do that with my kids. They'll come down to my home office and try to talk to me, and I'll be in the middle of something, and before I know it, I've said yes to them having more candy or watching TV or something because I hadn't given them my full attention, and it's really driving that surface connection versus a deep connection. Happens so often.
Totally. Yeah. It's interesting to kind of see that. And what's nice is sometimes, as I said, take the pause. If I'm going to reach out to somebody, do I need to what's the best way to do that? Can this wait until, I know I'm going to talk to them in the daily meeting. Okay. I know they're going to be there. Do I need to do it right now? Is it something, what the difference between something that's, important and urgent And there's very few things that are urgent. You start to realize, yeah, this is important, but is it really? Do I need to know this in the next 5 minutes? It's very few things that I need that I need to pick up and ask them to call me back right away. Right. Like, if you take this second to really ask yourself that question, but what happens if I actually wait on this and I'm okay and I send a message and, I know we have this expectation, so I know when I'm going to get my answer typically. So, I guess it goes back to that communications of awesome again. It's just, even with my kids, we sort of they know kind of when I have my space and when I can be present with them and when I'm working and kind of everything like that. And it's hard because I love them, and it's such beautiful energy, but sometimes I won't be serving them if I am not actually listening to them and trying to do two things at once. Not everything loses, right? Like, the work isn't good and they're going to be frustrated because I'm not giving them real attention. I'm just sort of placating them. So it's just like this idea of pleasing versus being, right?
Yeah.
Am I just trying to please somebody so I feel good about myself maybe, and I'm hoping they feel good? We're probably not going to both feel good at the end of the day.
Man, I love it. That's so great because it's so true. Thanks for sharing that. I think there's a lot of wisdom just in that last minute there, and being just being and being present is so important. Right back to the topic of the podcast, kind of that just brought us back full circle. Creating connection in a virtual world, and we've talked a lot about a few really important aspects, but I think it's kind of hit the nail on the head, right? We need to be present. If we're trying to drive connection with somebody, I just picture myself standing beside, the coffee machine in the office that I used to go to that I don't go to anymore. You're fully present. You don't have distractions, notifications going off. You're chatting about life with that individual, and so it's so important to free up that space.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. I mean, your phone, a lot of times you'll leave your phone at you, you're all of that. You're just there, just you, the person, the coffee, and with no motive either, right? You don't need anything. Maybe sometimes you do, but a lot of the times those are the magic moments, is where I can be with someone and not need anything from them. They're not trying to get anything from me. We just are. And that's human. You talk about connection. That's human connection right there, is like those split seconds of where we just realize we're just both human beings, just here in the same space, just enjoying this moment. And that can kind of be, we don't realize it, but that is, at least I do really enjoy that time. So that's kind of the things we might be missing out on, is those. It's hard to do that. I do this breathing exercise with my team at the end of all of our calls. I'm actually part of another company called Breatholution, and every day at noon, it's an app people can download, and the goal is to get 1 billion people breathing together for 1 minute once a day, where you just close your eyes. It's just like exactly what we're saying. You just breathe in with me and breathe out. Breathe in and out. Breathe in. Let it all out. If you can just do something biochemically, you'll get your heart synchronized, you'll get your mind synchronized, you get your breath, start with the breath, and all these things start to get synchronized, and everything else can fall away, and you're just with that person breathing. So that's these are sort of my little toolkit that I've been developing for myself and sharing with my team and sharing with clients. Little hacks. It takes a minute. I'm always usually I start every meeting. Even podcasts that I've been on, I say, hey, at the start of the podcast, can we just breathe for a minute? I know it might be weird for everybody else listening to do that, but you can breathe with us. And it's science. There's a lot of science behind it about just taking that. Can you take a minute and just being together? Is that enough?
Yeah, that's great. Even in that, just so much packed into how to set yourself up to be in the present moment really drives that connection, whether it's in person or not. But clearing your mind, focusing on just one thing, focusing on your breath, taking a deep breath, not just a chest, shallow breath, but an actual deep breath. And it's I know what I'm going to do after the podcast is spend some time in breathing and because it's so important. Often at least I find myself just in just busy mode. Like looking at my calendar, I've got 5 days a week, and almost every hour is booked up with something. And so it's go, go, go. But we have to take a minute for ourselves, because if we can't connect with ourselves, how is it going to be possible to connect with others? But as we kind of wrap up the podcast, Ben, I'm curious about what's kind of one takeaway you have for somebody who is listening, who may be a founder looking to implement something in their organization, maybe a manager who's looking to do something different in their team, or maybe you're just part of a team and looking for kind of a practical way to drive and create connection. What's kind of one key thing that you can pass on to people?
That's a great question. I guess it really depends on sort of the culture of the team and what they need. Everyone's in a different place. As I said, there are some simple tools. The big hack that I would say right away, I mean, I know it's sometimes weird, but breathing with other people just for a minute really does slow everything down and can really help that at the start of a meeting. I always find my meetings flow so much better. I'm so much more present. I'm much more present with that person if I start by breathing with them. We usually end all our meetings that way or start our meetings that way. It's just a minute. And then don't lose the team building. However you're going to do it. cityHUNT, we have some really cool games that we built, and that's fun and that's great. But there's other ways. How are you creating if all you have is this tool of a video conference? How can you use it to create that community, to still laugh, to have these these awesome moments? Which when I think about the coffee, like when you think about people around coffee or water cooler, I think about people laughing, and I don't even know why they're laughing. Maybe, like I walk by and they're laughing, and maybe they don't even know. That's just like that kind of just fun laughter. And so can you create experiences like that where people are all laughing together? Maybe that's what we're missing. Is like, what is it like to be in a room of everybody laughing and cheering together energetically? So can we create those experiences? Again, we're doing tons of holiday parties right now. We're almost sold out with them because there's no other option, right? We've created this whole really fun experience doing a virtual holiday party. We've taken kind of the best of everything we've done and tied a holiday theme to each thing with drawing and scavenger hunts and all these different pieces, but at the end of the day, I want to create that energy of, our team does. We want to be more awesome together with the client and create the energy of the holiday party. Like, it's not lost. We're just reshaping it. We're reimagining it. And what is the best part of the holiday party when it's healthy, when it's successful? I think it's when you have those moments of everybody laughing, smiling, and sort of just cheering together and being together. So finding ways to do that still virtually and not feeling like it's impossible, because it is possible. We've seen it.
Yeah, that's great. It's a great little bit of advice is, even if for those who are planning a holiday party, it's what are the goals you want to achieve out of your party? And if it's a virtual gathering, what are you hoping to create out of that event? Is it simply just sending a gift card to people or creating an experience for people? So that's great, Ben. And people can find you at cityhunt.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, cityhunt.com. I'm also working on a book. You can go to my website, benjaminpeacehoffman.com, and kind of see some of the stuff that I'm working on there, taking all these ideas of mindfulness, team building, like soulful abundance in work, life, physical, emotional vitality, and financial sustainability. Those are sort of the three components that I've realized, like as a hardworking entrepreneur in the past and trying to shift to be a more soulfully abundant, mindful entrepreneur and in work and in life. Kind of working on a book and telling that story and whatever experiences that I've had and being vulnerable about sort of the light, the shadow, the hard work that we're all going through and in it together, and sort of some tools that, a lot of wonderful people have given to me. So yeah, cityhunt.com. We'd love to help, anybody. And our whole thing is make awesome for others. So we're doing a ton of work with fundraisers right now. So we just did a big program with American Cancer Society where they couldn't do their normal relays and races and things like that. So we've created experiences for them. And then we're doing tons of corporate team building, especially virtual holiday parties the next few months. So you can find information about me, those two places. I'm not really on I know it's really weird, but I'm not really on social media. I'm taking a little break right now. So that's where the 2 spots I'm at. That might change, but that's what's up.
Sounds good. Yeah, and for those who are listening, and if you're thinking of team building events, and I know Ben has written a great article for peoplemanagingpeople.com, so head to the website as well and subscribe, so you make sure you don't miss out on the great articles that are coming out of that website. So it's been such a pleasure to have a conversation with you today, and I really appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you too. This is beautiful. I really love the work that you're doing, helping people sort of connect with one another in more deep, meaningful ways, which what else is there, right?
Totally. Yeah. And I also thank all of our listeners who are listening today. If you get a chance, please head to our website, subscribe, but also let us know different topics or that you'd like to hear about, as well as give us some feedback on what you like and what you'd like to hear more of. So with that, have a great afternoon, everyone, and we'll talk soon.